Okay, welcome back everyone to the Cranberry Secondary College podcast. And as usual, you are joined by me, Mr. Young, and
Hey, it's Mr. L.
Hi.
we have
Stephanie Gong.
our special guest, Miss Gong. So
Yeah.
one thing that's been happening recently was we not too long ago finished our celebrations for Lunar New Year. So I was just wondering how everyone's Lunar New Year was.
Yeah, I think it's interesting being called New Year because, a lot of us, we tend to call it Chinese New Year. But then what we tend to forget is that there's other non-Chinese countries that actually celebrate the same celebration across the same days. So, for example, one of my family members is Vietnamese, right? So they even celebrate it as well. So it's like Chúc Mừng Năm Mới or something like it's Happy New Year or something like that, right? I hope I'm pronouncing it right. But yeah, I know. And, Malaysians, Singaporeans, they all celebrate and they're not really part of China. So yeah, did you do much for Chinese Lunar New Year?
Yeah, I invited my friends over, and my mom is here, so she cooked the traditional dinner, and we just celebrate night together, and yeah.
That's good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
What did you do, Miss L?
So I think it happened during snap lockdown. That's the problem. So I didn't actually get to spend that much time with my own family as much, but with my partner's family, she's Malaysian. Because she's Malaysian, the celebration was a bit more Malaysian, and the way that Malaysians celebrate is quite different as well. So, for example, the food that we eat is quite different. Like in Lunar New Year for Malaysians, there's one dish that has to be had, and it's called yisang. And I remember talking to when my parents, Chinese parents, saw it for the first time. They had never seen it before. It's like a giant plate, and then you have some sashimi salmon, you have some vegetables raw, and then you put this sauce. And as you keep adding each ingredient, you say one blessing. So it's like this sesame seeds represents this, this sauce represents this, and then when we're ready, we all get chopsticks. And then we all have to lo hei, which means mix it around, and we all say a blessing. So it's like 新年快乐,身体健康. And we have to say each of these blessings as you are mixing this meal, which is a very Malaysian thing. So yeah, even Chinese people don't really celebrate it.
Yeah, that's the translation, by the way. Just like 新年快乐 means Happy New Year, and 身体健康 means have a healthy body. So
have a healthy life, healthy body.
Yeah. For my celebrations, I planned to have dinner with my cousins.
Okay.
So we were gonna have dinner with our cousins, but then because we found out it was the snap lockdown, we decided it would be a better idea for us to just go over and celebrate with our grandma.
Hey, that's good. Yeah.
We all went to our grandma's place. My cousin made ribs. Yeah, smoked ribs. I ordered a lot of sushi. We had quite a few things as well. Like, I remember we had your typical Chinese restaurant foods, like the crab noodles.
Okay, yeah.
So that's just like ginger garlic noodles with crab meat.
Roast pork?
There was roast pork, barbecue pork, all of the common standard Chinese dinner stuffs. And then we celebrated another day, like the day after, because it was that snap lockdown with my parents, and I made something we call tang yun or tang yan. Yeah. So it's basically, if you don't know what it is and you know what mochi is, tang yun or tang yan is mochi in a soup dessert form, and there's different types of tang yun you can make. The ones we do is with sugar, so it's so good.
And for those of you that don't know what mochi is, it's like glutinous rice.
It's very chewy.
Yeah. And do you like tang yuan?
Yeah, sort of.
Sort of?
Yeah.
For me, it depends on what's on the inside.
Yeah.
I actually don't like sesame.
Oh, yep.
Heizema, I don't like. And sometimes I've seen even durian being used in the middle. Yeah, and I'm like, nope, not durian for me. I mean, I like a very easy red bean. That's quite nice for me. Yeah. How about you?
I like the plain one. And I put it in the soup, that tianzhu.
Oh, yeah. So sweet wine?
Yeah, sweet wine soup. I like that one.
Okay.
Plain one. I don't like anything inside.
Yeah, so it cooks away all the alcohol.
Okay. Mine is it's known as the poor man's tongyun, which means that's because
Yeah,
all you do
why?
is you just grab the flour, like you make the flour, you wrap up sugar inside,
Oh,
and then you just wrap it up.
like brown sugar.
Yeah, it's like you buy blocks or bricks of brown
Oh,
sugar.
rock
cut
sugar.
up.
Yeah.
Basically. And so like when you cook it, what happens is that part of the sugar from that sugar melts into a syrup, but you still get like some crunchy parts of the sugar that you can bite through.
Almost like caramel. Oh, that is very nice.
Yeah, it's really, really nice.
Yeah. So, that's, yeah.
So yeah, pretty good Lunar New Year's it sounds like.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any like favorite, let's say, Chinese or Asian celebration or traditions that they like to celebrate?
For me, actually, when I was a child, when I grew up in China, so in Lunar New Year, I would always go to my grandma's place, and we play with the fire
Crackers?
Yeah, that's the best part of it. But it's
Yes.
she like it's we grow up and then we just like, stop the celebration like that.
Oh, that's sad, yeah. And also firecrackers is illegal here.
Yeah.
You can't just set it yourself. And I remember doing an episode last time where I talked about how when I was in Malaysia, it's not illegal. Well, kind of is, but the police don't really care. So everyone in the streets always sets off their own firecrackers and fireworks.
Yeah.
So imagine you just look up and your house is just fireworks everywhere. So that's, I think that's one cool thing. And playing a bit of mahjong as
Yeah.
well on Chinese New Year, very important.
Love me a bit of mahjong.
How about you, Mr. Yong?
Oh, of course, it's getting the red pocket money.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, thank you. I will like the money now, thank you. And then it's always the sad time. Like, it's really weird how it's sad, but when you get the red pocket money, and instead of money, it's just a lolly inside, and you're like, give money, please. I want money instead.
Well, at least both of you can still get money.
True.
Have to give money soon.
Yeah.
It's like, as an adult, married. It depends. The tradition really changes. Some people are like, oh, you have to start giving when you're married. Some are like, you only need to give when you have kids yourself.
Okay.
For me, it's just like, oh, whatever, I'm married. First year gap, it's like your free year. You don't need to give anything for the first year. And the second year onwards of getting, after you've been married, I've got to give money to all the young ones who aren't married. Don't ask me for money.
Tip, don't get married. Don't have to give any.
So yeah, but I remember even growing up, did your mum used to do this? She's like, oh, I'll look after your red pocket money for you. I'll look after it for you.
It never comes.
And it
back.
never comes back. Yeah, not until like when you're maybe 12 years old, around then you get to actually keep it yourself.
Nah, like
You never.
16 till 16.
Really? Your mum just kept it?
Oh no, they kind of like kept it and then like bought me food with it. But then it was
Okay.
like they'll keep it, but they'll keep it really well.
But I mean, as a young kid, once I started managing it myself, I did waste it on very useless things. So
Food.
food,
Always.
yeah,
Coffee.
Snacks.
that's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
So, I don't know if you guys have noticed recently or been watching the news, but like there's been some like with the onset of COVID, since we were talking about snap lockdown, there's been kind of some concerning news about how people have been treated overseas, and that's talking more about the more of the Chinese or East Asian looking population, where we're starting to notice quite a bit of just rudeness towards them. Have you guys noticed that as well?
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I've seen it all over my usually Instagram news feed whenever there's like short stories or even on my Facebook. But how about you, Miss Gong?
I just watched from the news.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's been quite interesting because I remember watching on Facebook there was a Korean streamer, so she wasn't even Chinese, and there was a Korean streamer and she was in Germany.
Oh, I
and
know
then-
her.
yeah.
Yep. Mhm.
So like during her live streams there on I think it was Twitch, she had multiple people come up to her and being extremely rude. One tried to mimic her facial structures. One made fun of the way she talked, and there was one who like even threatened to use physical violence, which was quite concerning. And I was just like, it's kind of really disheartening, like just to see that is still happening.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of rewarding to see that it's not really happening too much in our school community. So like me, or us being East Asian, for me, I haven't really seen it around the school towards me or towards any other students. So I think it's a good sign of how far our school is starting to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think a very important factor is that because I think a lot of you guys out there listening, you know us teachers, you know, and that's why you know what we're like. But the problem is that in the community, I feel that it's always against people that they don't know.
Yeah.
And what I find really sad, especially overseas in the news, is that the people who are always getting, actually quite a lot of people physically attacked, are elderly people, are like really old people, like people in their 70s or the 80s, even 90s, just randomly for no reason, people come up to them and just attack them, right? And that's the sad part. It's never like, not saying that it should be a young person, but these people are targeting people who are vulnerable as well, you know, which is really sad. But have you heard of any much like stories about, is it like physical violence or more verbal? Have you heard of anything?
I heard that in Melbourne there's one like people putting words on the wall.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know where is that, but I heard of that. And in America, the elderly people get beaten by. Yeah, I heard of that as well.
Yeah, they have to go through surgeries and stuff like that.
It's quite intense. Like, it's really interesting to see how the onset of one major event, such as COVID pandemic, can trigger a chain of emotions and actions just because of something that wasn't completely understood well. Like, I'm still not too sure about my stance about how COVID originated, but just because of one major, let's say, accusation or rumor, it's just released this whole chain of events where we're up to where we are now.
Yeah. And some of these people that get attacked actually may not have even ever been to China in their life, right? So I remember like when I was growing up in high school, there were a few East Asians as well, but they were like fourth, fifth generation Australian, right? Even Chinese New Year, they don't celebrate it. Like they're the most Aussie of Aussie people that you can think of, right? And they identify like as pure Aussie, like, you know, they can't speak a word of Chinese, for example. They can't, and everything in the family tradition is around your traditional way of regular Aussie growing up, right? And then for them, sometimes walking along the street, if people were to just based on the looks of them, right, say some sort of verbal racial abuse or even physical, right, for them, I don't know how they'd feel because it's kind of like imagine you, someone as a listener, imagine you were born here and all you've known is just the Australian way of growing up. And then someone comes up to you and says something racial, and then it even takes a while for you to even process it, I bet, because you're like, oh wait, I'm getting identified as Chinese. You know, I find it really, that's really sad and really hard, I think, you know, on those people, and not fair on them.
It's kind of like, so I feel like it's sad to me it's sad mainly because it's messing with their sense of identity, because for them they're probably identifying themselves as I'm Australian, I was born here, my parents raised me up here, grew up here all my life, this is my morals and how I've set myself up, and then suddenly someone's just generalized, like, not to say that like being Chinese is bad or anything, of course, it's more of like someone's just attacked my sense of identity, so like, who am I really at this point? So that I think that's sad that they've done that to them, on top of like all the abuse, violence, all of that as well. So and with Harmony Day coming up, so that's where we can all, I guess, spread awareness and to be able to, you know, embrace each other's cultures, which would be really good, I think. I'm actually looking really forward to Harmony Day. For me and Miss Gong, I don't know if you guys know, we were actually in our second year of teaching here. And so last year, we actually didn't get to participate in Harmony Day. So this will be a first for us. So it'll be really fun to see what performances we have and like how we're celebrating as well.
Yeah, I think it's really great and important that we do share each other's cultures and like get to know each other. I think one of the best ways to do that actually is buy food. Buy food, right?
The most important stuff.
Miss Gong, do you want to tell our listeners about one recent event that we did together with some other teachers and other staff members in the school? What we did recently?
We went to House of Delight for hotpot and other food as well. It's really nice. And how many people are there? 12.
It was like 14, 12 or 14.
Yeah, there was a few teachers of us there, yeah. And not everyone was Asian. It was like almost half-half, I'd say.
Yeah, half.
Yeah. Do you want to describe to everyone what hot pot actually is?
Hot pot.
Yeah.
The hot pot we had is not traditional hot pot. We
Yeah.
have individual pots.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's very small.
Yep.
And you can pick your own food, but traditionally it's always a big one that's shared by the whole group of people.
Yeah, so what do you do with hot pot?
First of all, you have to choose the base, the soup you like. I like tomatoes and spicy soup. I always order those two.
Okay.
And then just put whatever you want inside the soup and boil it up and just eat it with the dipping sauce maybe you can make.
Yeah. What do you like to add?
Oh, for me, like, it's always like, usually it's typically one spicy soup and then one kind of savory but clean soup. So, like, try not to be
More
like,
clear.
Yeah, have, like, let the flavor of the actual food shine
Yes.
a little bit, you know? And then, of course, I dunk it into sauce right after I cook it, so it's
Yeah.
like, what's the point? But anyway,
Yeah.
I really enjoy having, so like with hot pot, it's you grab a selection of meats, fish, mushrooms, vegetables, noodles, all of that. You can put it into the pot, cook it, and then take it out. So it's a really quick cooking process. Actually, it's not like you're sitting there for like 20 minutes unless you're having seafood, and you're like, and so it's like pretty quick, and then you're dipping into food sauce here. My favorite part is when you have the noodles and the vegetables,
Yep.
and they've been cooking for a little bit. You finally take them out, and it just tastes like the soup.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Like just that perfect combination of it's freshly cooked, but it also has quite a bit of flavor, and it's not like flavor that you'd get elsewhere, but it's like concentrated flavor from the soup cooking for a while.
Yeah. I actually used to work at a hot pot place, actually. Yeah, before I was a teacher back in the days, back in my university days, actually. And as Miss Gong was saying, traditionally it's meant to be one giant pot that everyone shares. But of course, now with COVID, it's actually better that everyone has their own. So one way to think about it is imagine, listeners, if you were at home and you all had a stove each, and then you all had a pot each, and in that pot you chucked in whatever soup base you want. It could be like, let's say the most basic would be what? Beef stock, chicken stock, veggie stock. Imagine like that. But in our Chinese tradition, we use other stocks as well and other soup bases. And then if you want beef that day, you can slice up some beef, or it's already pre-sliced. You cook it in there and you take it out, dip it in sauce, and you eat it straight away. So it's like you can almost eat your own meal without having to be like, all right, I need to share with everyone else. All right, what's mum cooking tonight? Okay, then everyone has to eat that thing, right? Whereas hot pot, you go there, it's like a all-you-can-eat buffet table, right? You pick whatever you want, and then you cook whatever you want, and then you eat whatever you want.
And the common misconception with hot pot is that, well, it's not common, but it's possible. It's that you have to drink the soup. You don't drink the soup. Please don't drink the soup.
Yeah.
It's not good for you.
Yeah. Maybe just one taste, but you don't drink the whole thing.
No.
It's not that it's poisonous. It's just that there's a lot of salt or sodium content in the soup, so it's just like fats, and it's just bad for your body if you have too much of it. So
A clear soup, you can drink a little bit before you're boiling anything inside.
Yes.
yeah, clear
definitely.
soup is good.
Yeah. Good for you. Ish.
Maybe.
Maybe not good for you. Just taste that.
Loose-ish.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that hot pot reminds me about, like you were saying in your uni days, yeah?
Yeah.
So like I actually really enjoyed hot pot in like buffets in my school days as well. So that actually kind of makes me think, because hot pot's more of a Chinese formed dish, and then my high school, segueing into what was school in China like?
Oh yeah. Yeah, because you went to school in which part of China, Miss Gong?
Central Park.
Okay. Yeah.
Back in China, it's very different from here. One thing I noticed more is we have 10 minutes break in each of the lessons.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Every class?
Yeah, so we have 40 minutes class to 45 minutes, and then we will have a break in between each where we can chat and go out.
Oh, so is it like, as in, like, in the 40 minutes, there's a 10-minute break in the middle, or you mean at the end of the 40 minutes, there's a 10-minute break?
At the end of the 40 to 45 minutes. So
Okay.
we break lesson into smaller.
Small lessons.
Yeah, it's smaller lessons instead of 2-hour lessons here.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's really good. How many classes do you have in a day back then?
depends on which year level you are. Like
Okay.
For I remember for primary school, I normally have 4 lessons in the morning and
Yep.
2 in the afternoon. But when I get to high school, it could be 4 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon,
Oh, wow.
or even 4 in the last year of high school. And now because my cousin is working as a teacher in China,
Yeah.
we have like study club at night. Like they finish at 9 o'clock, the teachers.
At
9 o'clock.
Yeah. So he's like starting 6, 7, and he finished at 9. He went bold a few years after teaching.
Remind me not to be a teacher in China.
Yeah.
So they start. What time does the first class start?
At my time, it was 8:40. We don't have like home group. We just go straight in from 8, and we read some of the paragraphs. Like we just do our self-study until 8:40 and the first period.
Oh.
And we don't have like selections of different subjects. The whole class stay there for a whole day in the same classroom.
Oh wow! So they don't move around.
No, we don't move around.
Yeah. So, basically, you're saying that you sit in the classroom, do your work, and then after each period, a new teacher will walk in, and the other teacher will
No,
walk
we have
out.
10 minutes break.
Okay.
So finish class, we go out, we have fun with friends, and they come back in 10 minutes.
But the teacher swaps.
Swaps, yeah, the teacher swaps. Subject
Okay.
teacher swaps.
As
yeah.
the subject swaps, the teacher swaps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you do like any extra like tutoring courses? Because I know like I have family in Hong Kong, and
Yeah.
what they do is like they would go to school, and then straight after school they have like a huge block of just like going to tutors and like
Yeah.
learning extra and getting extra work.
Music,
Yeah.
sport,
Yeah.
tutoring. Yeah.
Did you ever do that as well?
In last year, yes, I did for math.
Yeah.
Yeah, because math, English is mostly math and Chinese. Yeah, not English.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Was maths one of your better subjects?
Sort of.
Sort of.
Yeah.
I
It's
mean-
too much work. We don't have like general math method and specialist. I think we just have specialist. Yeah, math as a whole.
Oh, okay. So everyone had to do the
Math.
high level stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember like I'm pretty sure from memory. I'm not too sure. Just correct me. But I feel like maths in China was a lot harder than the maths we do here.
I mean, Miss
At the
Gong's a
start.
maths teacher. We
True.
can ask her. Yeah.
Yes,
She teaches maths.
I
Yes.
hated maths, and then when I was in primary school, I already started like learning like in high school. My mom will lock me at home when I'm
wow.
sick, and when she's away, I have to stay at home and do math work. When I was in primary school,
Wow.
yeah,
That's really strict.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of my childhood a little bit. Yeah.
I just remember going to Chinese school, and then so algebra was when. Do you remember when algebra is normally taught in the Australian curriculum?
Algebra year 8.
Yeah, year
Yeah,
8.
Yeah.
I remember going to Chinese school, which is like a Saturday school, so you go into school for one extra day, and they made us learn it in year 3. And I was like, "Is this the standard in China?"
Yeah.
It's like,
You
is
remember?
that? Do you
Yeah.
know if that's the case?
Yeah, we do more practice, so we can start off earlier. So because, for example, like times table. So some students here in year 7 still struggling with that, but the teachers will make sure we all like remember it, recite it like in year 1, year 2.
Sounds about right.
Yep.
Sounds about right.
That brings back all the memories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like just drilling and study the same thing again and again.
Yeah, there is that, isn't it? Huh.
I remember when I was studying Chinese, like VCE Chinese, one of the key emphasis for us was the disconnect between Australian schools and Chinese schools. And I remember from one of it that as Chinese schools, there was actually a bit of like almost military kind of training where you had to like do a bit of marching. Did you do that?
Yeah, we have at the beginning of the junior and high school. Yeah. we
Oh,
have one.
really? Okay,
Yeah.
so marching. Okay, I thought they just do the morning exercises and that's
We
it.
do morning exercise, but we have an intensive marching for 6-7 days or 5 days. I can't remember. At the beginning, when I entered from primary school to junior school, and from junior to junior high, yeah, we have that sort of thing.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I guess it like brings a really big sense of teamwork. I think that's
Yeah,
the
just
goal.
know the students, like know each other.
Yeah.
But it's really hard. We have to stand outside.
Yeah, well, like imagine like everyone having to like march the same beat and being like perfect on
Yeah.
time.
Cadets?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, we have some cadets here sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be hard though, like for like the whole year, like all classes to do it. It'd be a bit of a struggle, I reckon.
Yeah.
I would struggle.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So that actually brings me to our final segment of the day, which is I think one of our most looked forward to
I
segments.
think so, yeah.
I reckon.
Yeah.
And it's your what would you recommend? Oh, your watch list. So,
Yeah.
does anyone have a watch or a show that they would like to recommend first?
Yeah,
Mr. Lowe?
I'll start first. So the movie that I would like to recommend for our listeners today is a Japanese movie. So I know there can be TV series. Sometimes I talk about TV, but today I want to choose a movie. And the movie is a Japanese anime movie called Your Name. And it was the top grossing Japanese film, beating Spirited Away, until Demon Slayer came along.
Yeah.
And so Demon Slayer topped it, right? So it's not in cinemas, but it's on Netflix. You can watch Your Name on Netflix, which is really good. General gist of the story is kind of like one day a boy and a girl wake up and their bodies have been swapped and
I
they
watched that.
don't know why yet, and they don't know why. And so that's the general gist I'll give it with. I think it's one of those movies that even non-anime watchers would really enjoy. So I remember I use my wife as a good I use her as a good reviewer because she's not an anime watcher. So when I watch a film and it's an animated film and I get her to watch it, I'm like, well, how do you feel, right? Then I know that there's no pre-anime weebness as a judgment, right? It's like purely how is the film by itself, and it's a really beautiful film in terms of the coloring, the lighting, the music. Oh my goodness, the music,
I was gonna say music that completely blew me away. Like,
and the storyline is so good and so funny as well.
Yeah.
So funny. So that's what I would recommend. Your Name. Watch it on Netflix.
really nice. Miss Gong, would you have one? To
Yeah,
recommend?
I have one Netflix movies as well. Bad Genius.
Okay.
I watched a couple of years ago. I feel like this is like I can relate to that because this is about how a very smart girl cheating help others to cheat on English test. I actually took English test when I come to here to study, so I took the similar English test.
Did you cheat?
Yeah, I didn't because that's systematic cheating. So she's a genius. She can do very well, and she's playing piano. So sort of created a way to transmit the answer.
Messages using
Yeah.
piano. Hey, you're a piano player. You should.
Oh, don't. No, man. I'm a teacher at heart. I'm not facilitating any cheating.
But you can try to convey a message through piano. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be cheating.
Isn't that just music?
But yeah,
Some
maybe.
language.
yeah.
A B C D.
True.
Okay.
True.
So, is it an American film or?
I think it's a Thai film.
Oh, Thai.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. We haven't had any Thai recommendations, but I remember seeing some Thai films.
Yeah.
Usually the comedy ones. So, but yeah, it's a serious one. That's good.
Yeah, it's really fun, and they didn't end it well, so but it's really intense. It gets you like really engrossed in it. Yeah, yeah.
That's really good. I might recommend two this time.
Oh,
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, I know. So like, I feel like some of my students would get mad at me if I didn't recommend this one, and it is Demon Slayer, the movie, the most recent Demon Slayer movie. So Mr. L and I actually went with a bunch of Mr. L's friends to watch Demon Slayer together. Do not regret anything. So like, I read the whole manga, so I know how it all ends. I knew how it was gonna play out
Yeah.
in the movie. Sat down in the movie. To be fair, I was just on time. I was running a bit behind schedule.
Yes. Oh, I was so worried that you weren't going to make it.
So like, I was running behind, and then I literally just sat down and the movie started, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I went in, sat down, saw some stuff that was from the manga as well, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this so much.
Yeah.
And then it just got to some of the scenes, and then emotions just trickled in a bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I prepared myself for this, and this is like, am I ready? I'm still being so emotional. It's like, okay, yep, cool, no doubt. And then yeah, like it really hit the feels, and like.
I have people that keep telling me, hey, you know, Mr. L, you should read the manga so you know the story, but I want to see it unfold with the voice acting and with the music. I feel like that emotes to me more.
Yeah.
And with the color and everything, I think that also added it. So, I mean, technically, I can just be like, you know what, I want to know the ending, but nah, I'll be patient. I'll wait. I'll wait.
But like following with the movie, like I said this to you right after the movie as well. Based off of how they did this movie, I'm really hoping that the ending of the whole series is done in a movie as well. I feel like that would do it the most justice compared to just having it as a, I don't know, like a 20 episode long series. Like as much as I want it to be extended, I feel like a movie wouldn't do so much justice for that ending based off the quality of this movie. And then my second show is one that's following on that Chinese theme, and that's a show called Ip Man, or if you know how to pronounce it in Cantonese, Ip Man. And it's about a martial artist called Ip Man, and he is a Wing Chun martial artist, which was apparently a martial art made for women, I believe.
Developed by a woman.
Just because it just helped preserve a lot of energy and just used the opponent's energy against them as they were fighting. And so it just follows his story. And then, if you didn't know, apparently he was also Bruce Lee's master. So you have a master of a master, and you're following his story, and it's just talking about the wartime when Japan came over, and yeah, it was just a really overwhelming good watch. There's 3 to 4 movies, I believe.
4,
yeah.
and a few spin-offs.
Yeah, a few spin-offs.
Yeah.
I believe for me, the first 2, or the first one was the best. Second was pretty good.
Yeah. Just to give some modern day context to people about Wing Chun, because I do practice it a little bit. For those of you who are very invested in the UFC and MMA, for example, there are aspects of it that is still used. So, you know, people always talk about how not all Eastern martial arts can be used in a full-on fighting situation. But if you look at some champions, for example, Tony Ferguson and even Anderson Silva, for example, so they actually both incorporated some Wing Chun into their fighting as well in the cage, for those of you who really watch competitive mixed martial arts fighting. So it still is useful, and even one of Ip Man's students, so one of Bruce Lee's classmates, actually has opened a place in Melbourne CBD, and you can still go to it. But people have said that version of Wing Chun is a little bit deviated from the original. And I believe that deviated version is the same version that Robert Downey Jr. learns. So Robert Downey Jr. even himself has been learning Wing Chun for like the past 12 years. And in some of his movies, like Sherlock Holmes, I think he even did a bit of it in the MCU movies, right? When he sometimes has to protect himself as Tony Stark, he actually is using Wing Chun moves sometimes as well, which is pretty interesting,
It's pretty cool. I actually might visit that place and like see what it's like.
Chinatown.
Yeah, I might go.
Chinatown's very small. It doesn't look like a big place. You have to know what you're looking for. It's like, William Cheung Wing Chun, and then you'll see it.
Okay. Yeah, it's really interesting to see how like Chinese tradition can actually just trickle in and start to influence the places near us, and just like see how like beyond food and like just celebrations, but like start to incorporate into people's everyday lives, even if they don't identify themselves as a East Asian or have that cultural development for that. So yeah, it's pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, and before we finish up, I do want to thank Miss Gong for coming today.
Thank you for inviting me.
That's all right. So Miss Gong, she teaches maths, and you can usually find her in the Year 8 office in the Green Building at times. So if you're one of her students, make sure you say hi, that you listen to the show, or even if you see her around the yard, feel free to say hi to her, talk to her, let her know that you've watched the show, and you talk to her about some of the things that we even talked about, or even to any of your LOTE teachers, any of your Chinese teachers even as well. You can talk to them as well. might have some of them as a guest in the future as well. But yeah, we always want to just spread awareness and just spread, how Asian culture is so important to us as teachers as well. And so, why we think that even in Melbourne, it'll be a better place if we have a bit of it going around as well.
Yeah, and so I think you just summed it up perfectly. But also, just to add on to that, I really am looking forward to seeing what Harmony Day is like. So I really look forward to seeing what you come to school, like how you come dressed to school, and how you celebrate Harmony Day.
Where is Harmony Day this time? Like when?
It is on the last week. I remember I wrote it down. I think it's like 23rd, potentially. I think it's a Tuesday.
Okay.
I think it is the 23rd, which is we are currently in week 7. Week 9. Week 9's Tuesday, which is, at the moment, we're not too sure what the event will be yet, whether traditionally, we have had students wear free dress. We might do the same this year. By the time of our recording right now, it's still a little bit early, so sorry, but you will hear the news eventually. We have had, sometimes food, dancing celebrations, and clothing. Yeah, I know what I'll definitely wear if we are allowed to. So it'd be great.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. Anyway, that is all for today's podcast. Thank you again to Miss Gong for coming, and I hope you guys we hope you have a really good afternoon or day or whatever time you're watching this. So thank you. Bye.
Bye.